Yes, once again, late into the night here at Shelbourne Park. We're in the Champions Stakes suite and we are going to talk about the first 8 heats of the second round of the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. You know, some things change, some things stay the same. Tonight, the star of proceedings was Bocco's Diamond 29.40, and by all accounts, it looked routine, Kevin.
Yeah, it did. Like I touched on last week, I know there's a level of disappointment that we're not seeing the 28.90s and things like that, but yet you've half the field after competing in the Derby again, and he's still the quickest. I thought last week he only went up in my estimations last week, and he backed it up again. And like I said to you, I know people talk about what he does from 2 to 3, but it's from the first 3 strides out of the box to the first bend that has always made him special to me. And last week he showed it, and again he did it tonight. It's just routine at this stage. He traps relatively well, but he just burns them off into the first bend. And look, 29.40 might even win you the Derby most years, apart from obviously the Enigma last year, where all the dogs, we just had such a calibre of Greyhound in it last year. We mightn't have that calibre this year, but they'll still have to go through Bocco's Diamond to win this Derby.
Last year was the third round when he did the clock for the first time, 28.94. I don't think he's going to improve 7 lengths or 8 lengths between now and then, but progression is all they're going to be looking for. They want him to do a big run in the final, and I suppose that's the route they're gone down. He's just a little bit backward from where he was this time last year, but there's nothing wrong with that as long as he's just doing it right.
Yeah, no, like the time, I'm just talking from, I suppose, Graham's point of view and stuff like that. The time is immaterial. He's gone and shown last week. I know Epic Ace went out tonight, but the running he did tonight, and it took Epic Ace at his best last week to just about get the better of him. And I thought tonight he took that step forward. People get carried away with the times. The times don't matter. Just watch what he's doing to top class dogs, and all the ability is still there. And I do believe that whatever wins the Derby is going to have to go through him.
Yeah, a few chunky bets laid in him the last couple of days, I was told by Damien. So he's now, as we stand here, 7-2 favourite for the Derby. It's still very short at this stage in the competition. But let's go through the heats one by one. The first heat, there had been a bit of a cloud over Dubuis Patriot. He missed the kick and it just didn't happen for him. Ran out of space in the corner, but there was the sparkle wasn't there that was there last week. Lenny's Dream went up reasonably well, but Hennessy Boomer sort of confirmed that maiden Derby form. He just had a little bit more early speed in her. You said it last week, she's very trappy, but she won't do much more into the corner, whereas Hennessy Boomer just did show that little bit of pace, and then he cut the corner. And that was the key to the success of him, because he forced Lenny's Dream to check her stride. Dubuis Patriot found traffic. Tarzan Masai all of a sudden turned second, but they weren't picking up this leader, 29.63. Like, for a dog who went into the maiden Derby with over 20 races under his belt, he really has sort of just come into his own. He's just seems to have matured and turned into a proper greyhound. 29.63. Again, you say it, the time is immaterial, but as it was, he's only 3 and a bit lengths off the fastest heat winner tonight. It was a fine display, and again, he ran strongly to the line. He's one of those dogs you just have to keep in the back of your mind. I think he's better from the middle draw. I think he starts better.
Yeah, no, that's what we said last week. I thought he was, even though I had Lenny's Dream in the race, I thought he was definitely the value bet in the race. I know there was fancy prices around him during the week. I thought people were very quick to dismiss the maiden Derby form and almost judged him solely on his run last week. He was drawn in trap 1. Like Lenny's Dream, I think both of them want to be drawn in the middle. And I think if she was out there, I think she could clear him, but I think she'd have to be to clear him. But the minute he got the middle draw, this was what we saw in the maiden Derby, and he was so consistent at it as well. It was every time just popping out, making the bend. Look, he's probably not going to come from behind dogs to win races. He does all his running early, but even at 3.49, ignore that. He's 3.35 and 3.36 on his book in the maiden Derby. He can start even quicker than that. So yeah, he's a dog I really, really like. Probably won't get fancy prices about him next week, but he was brilliant there tonight. Tarzan Masai, what else can you say about him? There was a little bit of scrimmaging on the inside, but he goes around on the outside, and
he knows his way around here, doesn't he?
He's given Jeff some spin, isn't he? Like I tell you one thing now, you could breed an awful lot worse than taking a litter to him, because he's just so consistent. Look, he possibly is a step behind where he was over the last 12 to 18 months, but he's still a fair marker. And Lenny's Dream, I couldn't be happier with her. I was actually happier with her tonight than I was even last week, and let's be honest, I think you said it last week, she's the smallest greyhound left in the Derby, and she got a right clipping from behind at the opening bend, and for her to stick at it and come from narrowing down the gap to Tarzan Masai, I was over the moon with her. I think she will be better from a middle draw. She just edges off from trap 1, so, but I was delighted with her, and there might be a fancy price about her maybe next week, but I'm very happy and pleased with her.
We move on to the second heat, and this went right down to the wire. It didn't look like it was going to. Seven Beach absolutely exploded from traps. Made every. I was going to say it was going to make looked like he was going to make every inch of the running, but just the wheels suddenly fell off around the bottom two bends, tired up, and in the end. Callaway 5 at fancy enough prices, given the fact he's so talented. I think people don't realise how slow the track was running for him last week. He got up to lead briefly, but in the end, Kusain Pickles was too strong for both of them, and it was good to see her back to winning ways. She's so talented. We've known that for a long, long time. Lightly raced. They've clearly had issues with her, but she retains plenty of ability. The strength is there. She wins in 29.73 by a head to Callaway 5 and just a half length to Seven Beach. This was Greyhound racing.
Oh yeah, we'll do well to get a better race than this for the next 5 weeks or whatever we have left of the Derby, because this was just unbelievable action. I'd say the three of them all led inside the last 5 yards, because like Seven Beach is probably in front with 5 yards to go. Callaway 5 is up at about 3 yards to go, and then Kusain Pickles is literally up in the last stride. So it was a remarkable race, and a remarkable dog, Seven Beach as well, like flashing from the boxes. Again, I'm not too bothered about times and stuff, and like Kusain
even a defeat at this stage isn't a problem.
She's got a solo, and like he's beat less than a length. Like I know there's plenty of people out there who are very disappointed and saying, he's not this and that. Listen, them older dogs, you just want to see that they still have the spark, and the spark is from the boxes to the first bend. He still has that. Don't worry about him getting picked up at this early stage. Jennifer's won 2 of the last 3 derbies. I'd say she's over the moon going home with him. He's humming to the third bend. The fitness and the stamina, that'll all come. We know he gets this trip all day long, and there's not many dogs in this derby that if Kusain Pickles gets a solo clear run at you in a 5-dog race, she's turned probably third, and she's hunting him down. Like the writing is on the wall, and she was all out to get up there. Like he's still only beaten less than a length. Callaway 5, we touched on him last week. I said I was really impressed with his run last week. Again, I'm nearly more impressed with him even this week. He didn't get to dominate, didn't get to dictate things up front, and I was not concerned, but I was eager to see how he'd get on, and by God did he battle. And you can even see him at the line, like almost when he goes by Seven Beach, you can nearly see it in his face that he thinks he's done enough, and then she gets up and nails him, and again, like he's only beaten ahead, and like I said, she's got a clean run. And what can you say about Kusain Pickles? Like, forget even one of the fastest bitches in training. She's as fast as anything in training. They haven't had a great year with her, I suppose, after the ability she'd shown at the back end of last year. But it's great to get her head back in front, maybe a little bit more confidence, in good hands, and who knows, like she's capable of taking a half a second off that clock. We know that.
Yeah, sadly, Ballymacdonica lost her action in this race. I'd say she's destined now for the breeding paddocks. She's an absolute superstar. She's bred in the purple, so I look forward to seeing what she can produce in the future.
They're handy at throwing a few.
Yeah, they're not bad at it. They're not bad at it. They should take it up full time.
Yeah,
on to Heat 3, and this was one where the market got it right. We said it earlier in the week on the podcast. I thought that the Laddie Da would be a much bigger price come the night, and I thought they'd come from Magical Mag. As it was, Magical Mag went off the 11-10 favourite. Okay. She absolutely bingoed out of boxes, 3:38, 17:06, and yet she needed every single inch of it, because the Laddie Da was there challenging off the second bend, and only he makes the switch at that point. He may well have got the better of her. As it is, he's charging at her, but she holds on by a neck. She kept on digging. She's no slouch. 29.42, just 2 spots off Bocco's Diamond for the fastest run of the night. Big run by Magical Mag, and again the Laddie Da just like. This dog, like, he has so much pace and power. Like, to be beaten on your neck in 29.42 after losing the ground that he did and having to force to go wide, like, just a remarkable greyhound, but a great finish. And back behind them, Ballyhooly Bruno showing more signs of life once again. Faded a bit into the escape, but that fitness coming to him, I'd say they had to rush him back.
Yeah, no, he looked like he cramped actually at the escape as well. I saw Tom just rubbing his shoulder, so like, and you'd expect that, like you said, him weakening into the escape. I'd say it was just cramping, and it's unsurprising. Like, he picked up a knock, and Tom is doing an unbelievable job to get him back in shape for this derby. And the longer he stays in it, I'd say the better is to come. Magical Mag, we talked about her last week, completely fluffed her lines. I said draw a line to that form. This is more like what she's capable of, 17.06 to the third bend. And when she does it, she's going to be a fierce, tough nut to crack. And Packled Foil has her absolutely flying, but she can miss it slightly on occasions, but it's not the norm. That's more like her starts, like, you have to go down through like a 2 seconds here, 3:35. That bingo break is not a fluke, and she's showing in the past that she can do it. I'm running out of things to say about the Laddie Da, and I'm going to say something mad. He was an English Derby winner and looked after the World of Feet. I genuinely believe he's possibly a better dog now than he's ever been. I know the early pace and that flash from the boxes might not be there, but that dog back then, when the going got tough or got in behind dogs, it would not be able to do what he's able to do. He's cruising. His cruising speed now is definitely above it's ever been. And what I mean by that is, like, even when he's having to check and ease into a third bend or use his head, like, he's not losing momentum. And off the last bend, he's just so strong again. Like, he looks every race that he's in that he's never hitting top gear, and he's just cruising around there doing 29-40 odd. Like Bocco's Diamond, like, after saying how impressed I was with him and how I still think the Derby winner will have to go through him, when you think that the Dad's doing probably 29-44, 29-45 there tonight, and again, I think if he got a solo, I think there's another 2 lengths in him. I think he's actually a better race dog as well. I think if you gave him a solo, I don't think he'd probably maybe do the 29-60. I think everything is just so easy for him at the moment. I think he's going to be fierce hard to keep out of frame, and I would not be surprised if he's one of the 6 here in 5 weeks' time. I really do believe it.
I tend to agree with you. And the boxes don't seem to make a difference to him anymore.
It doesn't matter. And it doesn't even matter. He doesn't need that bingo break. Like, he's running that well at the moment that I think if he was 5th or 6th off the second bend and I had him, I don't even think I'd be concerned, because he's using his head so well. I think he'd buy his time going into the third bend, and you know he's going to do off the last bend. He's going to switch up the inside rail like a cat. Like, you saw him in the English Derby final. Like, the run he done that night was remarkable. So, Liam and Shane have this dog in fierce root health for a dog with so many races, and he's been in all the big competitions.
We'll move on to Heat 4, and it was the Diamond himself. We've spoken already about him. But again, made it look routine. Fay Point Harvey is a flying starter. He once again bingo braked, but Bocco's Diamond just cruised past him into the opening corner. Wins as he likes in 29-40, 17-04. Hard to believe he's done it like a 16-50 odd, in the day. Even the 3-44, like, he's gone a couple of lengths faster than that in the past and more. He's just showing signs that he's sort of finding a bit of form here. Again, I'm just going to say it was routine for him. Like, it didn't blow me away, but I think that's more testament to the dog and what he's done in the past than where he is now. He may well get back to that level, but for the moment, it's literally just routine.
Everyone keeps saying to me, like, how slow is the track? And I'm just not buying it. I don't think the track is slow at all. We just seen the last race, a dog of my own doing 28-69. Like, track's not slow. We were treated to a Derby last year that might never ever happen again, where you had more than just Bocco's Diamond. You had Bocco's Diamond, Bombay Pat, Cheap Sandwiches, Carrick Aldo, you name it, 7B. Like, we had a crop of dogs that all peaked at the same time, and it was just remarkable. It really was. Like, Boyle Sports Bob, who what I think of him, lined up. What price was he in the final of the Derby? 25 to 1?
Yeah, something like that.
And that boggles the mind that he could line up in a 6-dog race, one-off race, to be a price like that. That just tells you the caliber of dogs we had. And I think everybody is expecting those dogs to be there and doing those times again. And it's just a different Derby. And we might not see the 29-20s. Like, this run, 29-40, is the benchmark. We just said about Magical Mag, how good she is, how good that. She winged it, and he was still quicker than her. He didn't come away fluently. There is a length there at the boxes, but he still has that burst into the first bend, and he just glides around the first 2 bends, and it's just effortless. And I'm not. It doesn't affect me. I'm not sick of listening to people saying, "Oh, where's the 22nd run?" I have no skin in the game. It doesn't bother me. But if I did, it just wouldn't bother me an iota. He's still the quickest dog in the Derby. We've yet to see what will happen tomorrow night, but I don't think the track is slow. I think we just need to lessen our expectations that we're going to see these 29-10s every heat, and it's just not going to happen. Let's enjoy them, what they're doing at the moment. Fay Point Harvey, he's some old stalwart. He probably, if he was in anyone else's kennel, he'd be probably in the top 3 or 4 dogs he'd have. With Graves, he's probably well down the pecking order with just the amount of dogs he has, but he always turns up, and any night he gets strap 1, he's going to be a force to reckon with, because he'll fly out. The real top early pacers will outpace him, and do you know what I mean? But he'll stay plugging away in there. And Happy Jet ran well. Look, it was disappointing for Rolo Tokyo. It was always a fear that you would have, because he was able to dominate last week, and in this race it was very unlikely that he was going to lead Bocco's and even Fay Point Harvey, and he just got tangled up, and it got messy for him, and unfortunate to see him go out.
Happy Jet ran on really strongly. Yeah. Just beaten actually ahead for a second spot for Pat Buckley. He's very strong. He really wants 575, 600. Yeah. To be honest, he just doesn't seem to have the early for this company. Heat 5 was a 4-dog affair, and it soon became a 3-dog affair. Unfortunately, toolmaker Giuseppe went lame. But Check for Cash, like, he was going to be vulnerable out front, but I'll tell you one thing, he's a real pro, this fella. He didn't fly out like he can, but he got to the front, and he just kept on finding. Hotwood did all he could to close, was forced to switch side off the last bend, but then didn't find an awful lot, and Check for Cash kept on digging, wins a length, and a length again back to Upper Horgan in third spot. It was all pretty straightforward, but Check for Cash, like, you could really set your watch by him, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could, and I'd take a length off him. I didn't think he got away by his standards well at all. I thought for the first year, I thought he'd be well clear actually after a couple of strides, and he just didn't. But he showed that early pace into the first bend, and look, it wasn't. It was a race with Lacken early. He was the standout one in it, but I think he can go quicker to the third bend. And 29.64, like, that's a fair jump. You know what I mean? Like, I thought the clock there, given how he started, I thought he could have come away a bit sweeter. I'd say he's good for a little bit quicker. But like you said, like, Hotwood is strong. Upper Horgan, strong, like real good dogs with good form, and he would have been vulnerable, but it never looked like they were going to get to him off the last bend. Like, he was never vulnerable. He might just be getting a bit stronger, and it'd be great for Carl, because he always turns up in the big night car with these dogs, and in Check for Cash, you wouldn't like to be in again him.
The deeper Carl goes in, the better it is for Shelbourne Park, because he brings a crowd, and by God, they can celebrate.
Yeah.
And let's hope that Check for Cash does go a few more rounds. On to Heat 6, and again, I don't mean this disrespectfully, because I'm a big fan, but I've said it all week. Hello Diego is not a dog you back at short prices. He's 4-6, and like, there was nothing that was going to scald away and get loose on them, and then he was going to try and pick them up. Like, they were all sort of muchness into the opening corner, and Hello Diego was going to be forced to stay wide. He wasn't going to get a clear passage. He was going to have to come from off the pace, because you knew he was going to throw away another length or two by staying wide. As it was, he finds himself laughs down the back straight. In contrast, Salah Curley, who's having just his 5th start, half-brother to a finalist last year in Sing Along Dolly. He ran well in defeat last week, but tonight looked a far more sort of ready, professional performer. Popped out, 3.43, 17.27. It's not huge to the third bend, but it's decent. It's a dog only having his 5th start. 29.72, and he's into the third round draw of the Derby. He's a real prospect. A dog for next year, perhaps, but they're going to enjoy this journey while they're on it.
Oh yeah, look, and any dog that has 5 races run and 4 wins, he knows where the winning line is, and he's able to get his head in front. And look, I'd say I'm sure Connections are over the moon that like, not that it was a rush job into the Derby, but his first race around Shelbourne was in the first round of the Derby, and you'd be a little bit concerned about how he'd start and stuff like that. But at 3.43 tonight, he trapped better from the middle, and hopefully you'd be thinking that'll give him a bit of confidence going forward. And like, we can't talk up Check for Cash with a 29.65 and then discount this lad 29.72. We know what Check for Cash is capable of, and this lad, only in October 23. Well, that's, I suppose, the thing that I'm looking out for. People are talking about the slowness of the track. I'm looking for the pups to start, making, and there's still plenty of time. There's still another month to go. Keep an eye on one or two of these lightly raced sorts. Bit of confidence under their belt. You never know. On Diego, look, it'll be funny. We'll be up here tomorrow night, probably around this time, and the draw will be going on, and everyone will be hoping for an easy. Diego, the better the company, the better it is for him. We want 4 or 5 scalders to the corner. I want all of them unanimously. Solo go, throw them all in with him, space it out, because I was standing on the back straight and looking literally as Diego comes around the bend, just took his ground, and then he went inside him and he took his ground at the third bend. And it's not slow dogs getting his way, that's disrespectful, but it's just the stronger running sort of steering types often get in his way. But the early pacers, the more the field is spread out,
they're coming back to him at the right time.
Exactly. Like, Diego's better off out the back and coming with one run around the bottom 2 bends and being allowed to do it. So and then again, looking left, we talked about him last week. Another one for Carl. He's as gutsy as the day is long, and like you said, he got in my way a couple of times tonight. No more. I know how the Connections are no more 50s feel now after tonight's running. So
he's never been out. Well, he's only once been out of the frame looking lap. He's just one of those plucky type individuals, On to Heat 7. I'll be honest, I didn't fancy Solo and Go. I thought Brickhill would take his ground early, but he flashed out. He's great early. 3.35 sectional. That's what he needed to do tonight, and he did it. Even down the back straight, I was thinking the wheels will come off sooner rather than later. But you're looking behind, and it's Oreo Ollie, who was picked up himself last week by the laddie Dan. He'll keep going to the line, but will he keep going quickly enough to get to Solo and Go? And then all of a sudden, this dog, Danzig Rebel, I didn't even have time to look at my card, and for the love of God, I don't know how I pulled it out of the sky. Danzig Rebel arrives with a rush. I'll be honest, another half stride, and he's up. As it was, it's a head, but it's not a big head, shall we say. Solomon Go, though, clung on for dear life and got there. He's in August 23. It's remarkable that Ballymac Tibet is his brother, who's so strong. And this fellow, like the 550, is really stretching him. But look at the clock. 29.77 last week, 29.75 tonight. He'll be in front. He's one of those dogs that they're the likes of the Bosco's Diamond, Chief Sandwich. But you want them. Yeah. They want to avoid him.
Yeah, of course,
because he can go to a corner.
Oh no, he's the best. He's the best trapper in the Derby. Like he is. Like he's the best dog to leave a box that's in this Derby, and he is probably one of a very minute number that at the first bend could be in front of Bosco's Diamond. As explosive as he is into the bend, I think Solo and Go at this stage in their careers, I'd say, off of a wing break probably does lead him into the bend. Now I don't think he'd interfere because Bocca's would be outside him and he sticks real tight to the railing. So, but from a different point of view, I wasn't necessarily worried about Brick Kilmona getting in his way early. I thought if he started, he'd clear the inside relatively easily as he did tonight. But I thought something is going to, as I will nearly every night, something's going to turn second. Yeah. Something's guaranteed to turn second, and he is vulnerable. And
it's a case of what turns second.
Exactly, and it was bizarre because I thought after the last bend, he didn't look to be slowing down between the bottom two bends. And then it was literally passing even the 575 yard box that his stride seemed to go, and he was like, "Oh, he's gone." But he actually stuck at it again to the line, like he was gutsy. Do you know what I mean? And Danzig Rebel for James Keller appears from nowhere and comes with a massive run. Oreo Wally on a big race again. Do you know what I mean? He's only beating a head and a neck. He's doing 29.80 there tonight. I'd say another one of those I'd probably like to be more drawn to the middle, and like he's definitely a front runner, and he won't be in with Solo and Go, you wouldn't think, many times. So he could pop out and lead again next week. But look, Solo and Go, obviously for the connections, you know, you'd love to keep him in the Derby, but I'll tell you one thing, if this lad strengthens up here a bit at all, like he's only having his 10th race, he's going to be quite hard to lead to the third end.
Ballymac Axel went out here. He missed the kick. He just sort of fluffed his lines at the start and lost a bit of ground around the opening two bends. He ran on really strongly. He's only beaten a head, neck and two lengths. But, you know, listen, they came over, they took their chance. It just wasn't meant to be with this fella. But he's a dog I'll be keeping an eye on going forward. Yeah. I know you will anyway, given the breed. But we'll move on to Heat 8, the last of the 8 heats here this evening at Shelbourne Park. And I think we both agree that this was, in terms of overall quality, probably the strongest of the heats. And yet, it turned into the cheap sandwiches, you know, show once again. Unanimous Leo bingoed from trap 3. And that sort of ruined the chances then of Epic Ace and Carrick-Scolsey because they were always playing catch-up. Neither of them got a good start. Cheap sandwiches ranged up on the outside, took Unanimous Leo pretty comfortably off that second bend and raced on to win by 5 lengths, 29.49. It looked so effortless to him. Like this was a real step forward from last week. I know it's only 4 spots, but it was a real step forward from last week. He's just coming back into himself. He improved through last year's Derby. I think he's going to do the same again this year. You can see why Bocco's Diamond was chinned by Epic Ace down the back straight last week. He arrived with an absolute burst of pace into the third bend, like nothing you've seen. He actually just, like he came from lengths back and there was no room and he was forced to check his stride, and that was him. As it happens, Brunch Pal ran a blinder in second spot for David Murray. He's only a September, he's improving all the time, and Unanimous Leo clung on for third. Didn't happen, as I said, for the other 3, but Cheap Sandwiches, oh so easy, but 1 or 2 big runs in defeat.
Yeah, look, Cheap Sandwiches again, you know, look, I was talking to Graham actually on the back straight. I'd say, he came over and stood beside me. I'd say he stood beside me for 12 of his dogs running in his life. Every one of them have won. So if I'm going to start I told him I'm going to start charging from now on if he wants to stand beside me. He asked me where I'll be tomorrow night. But yeah, look, to draw of all draws, we talked about it even before the race. Like the race was really set up for him, and look, it went according to plan from his connections point of view. 17-17, we know he can go quicker to the third bend. These dogs are just coming along lovely. I'd say Graham couldn't be happier where they're positioned at the moment. You know, what else can you say about him? You know exactly what you're going to get from him, and he's coming forward lovely. Brunch Pal runs a huge race to qualify. You know, that race was a real trappy race, and he got there on merit. You know, he stuck at it. There was some serious dogs coming at him even into the third bend, and he stuck to his guns really well, especially for, like you said, only a September. Well, Unanimous Leo, similar to Solo and Go, you know what I mean? He's going to need to dictate things up front, and like there was nothing between himself and Solo and Go last week. So if you're keen on Solo and Go, you also have to say a word.
If Unanimously, like if you're leading up a race like this, and he led into the corner, you know, Chief Sandwiches arrives with him and joins him on the corner. But if you're leading up in a race like this, like, there's very few races you can't lead.
Oh yeah, no, himself and Solo and Go, I think, are the two, that most nights they're going to be in football, passing the winning line the first time anyway, and even at the first bend, they're going to be fierce hard to lead. Epic Ace, like I was talking to John Kennedy and Maria after the race, like he's just so unlucky. He just is. Like, even go back to the Sprint Cup, like in Dundalk, like no white seat gets trouble in Dundalk, and he managed to get it even when he was making it.
Just arriving with that rush.
Yeah, and it was the same tonight. Like, he, even before the third bend, like he misses the break, 5 comes in him, 2 comes out, and he just explodes into the first bend. Like, he's literally a length off of cheap sandwiches even at the first bend after missing it, getting bumped, and then into the third bend, like you said, he shakes off Carrick Scorsese, and he's absolutely flying. And just
interesting to see the two of them in the plate competition.
Yeah, well, I'd say that's probably where we're going to see them. But no, look, brilliant by the winner. Hard luck on Robert with Carrick Scorsese, and a desperate night for Robert, unfortunately. And look, we know he'll come back stronger. And Epic Ace again, very, very unfortunate in defeat.
Yeah, indeed. But cheap sandwiches, he rocks on, and I think there'll be a price slash tomorrow.
Probably,
just showing signs that he's almost been disrespected for the last week. He was only 4th or 5th in the betting.
Yeah.
I think he's after saying to the boys, listen, don't forget about me.
Yeah.
That's it. We have to see the first 8 heats of the second round of the BOYLE Sports Irish Grand Derby. My thanks once again to Kevin. We're going to do it again in 24 hours, but make sure to check it out. And if you can get to Shelbourne Park, I highly recommend it. This derby is just bubbling along nicely. It's going to come to a boil sooner rather than later. Make sure you're here to witness it.